This is Garry Kasparov in 1994, where he played against this guy, Vladimir Kramnik, and later in 2000 they would battle for the World Championship title. Kasparov was world champion at the time of this game, and we are going to witness something truly remarkable in this game. At one point in this game, Kramnik will have an army consisting of a bishop, a knight, a rook, and a queen, and they are up against an army consisting of bishop, knight, and a pawn. Now, in most games of chess, this sort of imbalance would make it pretty easy to guess the result of the game. But let's witness the magic of Kasparov and see what really happened and how the game really ended. So you get the pleasure of seeing this from Kasparov's side. I will play from Kramnik's side here, and let's just put up the pieces so that we can start a nice little presentation in the style of a chessama. Chess. Okay. Let's make sure the pieces are nicely centered so that we can get to work on this gem of a chess game. We are going to see king's pawn coming to king 4, or as we say today in algebraic notation, e4. Kramnik responds with the Sicilian defense, pawn to c5, and here is a little bit of a early deviation in the opening skirmish of the game. We will not see knight f3. We will see the less standard knight to c3, answered by Kramnik with the very standard knight to c6. And now we can see why we didn't earlier see knight to f3, the more standard move, the more common move. We didn't see that because Kasparov had a bit of an interesting plan here. He was going for knight g to e2 here, so he's not blocking this pawn, but he is still looking after the d4 square with this knight. Kramnik plays knight to f6, putting a little bit of pressure on this pawn, developing a piece, getting closer to castling, all very standard stuff. And if you know about the Sicilian defense, this type of opening being employed by black here, you know that one of the absolute main ways to attack it is to play pawn to d4 very early. Now we will get a open Sicilian. So we will see takes, pawn takes pawn. Let's put this here. Knight takes pawn. Let's put this here, and this knight is nicely protected by the queen, so we're not going to see any knight takes knight, queen takes. Instead, we are going to see how the lines are being drawn up for this this opening, the lines of the battle, because they are drawn up. The map of the chessboard is drawn up by the pawns. Pawn to e5, attacking this knight and asking a very important question: where is this knight going to go? And the answer to that question will show why Kasparov chose this particular opening setup with the knight coming to e2 and all this stuff. So a thing about this pawn move here, well, it looks very good and it is very good. It's a theoretical move, it's a book move, but it is weakening this d6 square just a tiny bit. So is that something Kasparov can maybe use strategically to really put the pedal to the metal and show his magic? Let's see. So Kasparov picks up the knight and puts it on b5, already targeting this square a little bit. Kramnik says, okay, I will keep that square under control. I will play pawn to d6. Now both the bishop and the queen are very nicely defending this. Kasparov says, okay, but now I'm looking at a different square. Now I'm looking at the d5 square, excuse me, and I see that you have this knight defending that. Okay, I will put my bishop out to g5 in what we call a pin, pinning the knight to the queen. Kramnik then says, okay, I can deal with that later. Let me first kick this annoying knight, playing a6, attacking the knight that can no longer go to d6. So it goes to a3. And now Kramnik pushes pawn to b5, simply threatening to come in here, forking these two knights, winning one of them, and very likely the game. So Kasparov says, well, I was actually prepared for that. That's why I played this move with the pin, so that the knight cannot really come in and capture anything here, because it would lose the queen to the bishop, allowing this knight to very nicely jump in to d5, no longer being exposed to this threat of the fork. So this knight could now just move, also very nicely attacking this knight, coordinating with the bishop. So Kramnik defends the knight with the bishop playing bishop to e7. Now usually we think that the bishop is just a bit better than the knight, but Kasparov has plans for his knights in this game. So he plays bishop takes knight, which is of course answered by the prepared move bishop takes bishop. And here we could see knight takes bishop, but that would just allow the queen to come out and no interesting imbalance has been created. No, this stage of the game is very much about Kasparov's magical knights. But this knight is not really as good as her sister here, and it can't easily get into the game. So how will Kasparov try to get it into the game? He plays this cunning move, c3. So this move controls the b4 square, it controls the d4 square, so stops also moves like this knight coming in, and importantly it allows this knight to reroute with knight to c2. Kramnik says, okay, I'm playing Kasparov, who's an attacking maniac. Let me get my king to safety. So he castles away. Kasparov plays his knight to c2 as per his plan, and Kramnik says, let me develop some more pieces. How about I play this nice little rook to b8, this little rook to b8 move. So this rook is now more active and is not going to be easily exposed as well. Okay, what do you do when you castle your king and you're playing against Kasparov? You are saying, I have a target for you. And Kasparov immediately pushes h4, going for the king. This is also offering up bishop takes here because it's protected by the queen, but that is simply too dangerous. He's not going to play this because rook is not going to take. It would be captured by the queen, but he's going to play g3, forcing this bishop to move back somewhere. And now this rook has a very nice view of this pawn, and it is very active coming for the king. So Kramnik says, no, thank you. I am not going to capture that pawn. Instead, he recognizes that this knight is instrumental in the attack, and he makes a bit of a concession, which has been validated by the modern computers to be one of the absolute best moves in this position. He plays this knight back here to e7 because it's the only way, because of this c3 move, to actually try to challenge this knight. You cannot go here, just be taken. So goes here instead, which allows Kasparov to make a very favorable trade of knight for bishop with this. Knight takes bishop with check. This has to be recaptured like so. And now there is a bit of a vulnerability, a hole in the wall of the castle against black's king. Here, queen coming to d2. Why would you think that he would play that? Well, this queen is now looking to come to h6, being very close to the king and starting a ferocious attack. Also, the king can now castle, the white king can castle to the queen side. Bishop comes to b7. That is what is chosen by Kramnik. Looking at this center pawn, Kasparov says, well, I am an attacking maniac, but I'm not above defending when the position calls for it. So he plays bishop coming to d3, defending his pawn. So this structure for Kramnik, who was a positional and is a positional genius, maybe not a genius in other respects, but a positional genius absolutely, says, okay, I actually have a pretty nice position, but I cannot have this hole in the towards my king if I don't have any counterplay. Right now I am sort of limited by white's pieces, so I'll have to break open the position and create some chances for myself. And that's why he plays pawn coming to d5. And I think maybe it's time for a little bit of housekeeping here. Just wanted to say that this board and these pieces that I'm playing on, this is of the official World Championship sets. These are the pieces that they play with in the World Chess Championship. And I have a little deal with WorldChess, who makes these sets, that you can get an 8% discount if you go and buy them, or indeed buy anything from their shop. You will get an 8% discount, and there's a link in the description for that. Okay, so how does Kasparov react? Well, he's not too unhappy. He plays pawn takes pawn, like so. Kasparov is on the attack, but Kramnik is mounting the counter-attack, activating his queen. Queen takes d5. And now he is very active. All of his pieces, maybe except for this rook, are all playing their part. And Kasparov says, well, let me just castle out of respect for his opponent here. Could be a little dangerous to not castle in this position. But Kramnik sees a very nice chance here and pushes his attack further with pawn to e4. Now entering white's side of the battlefield. How will Kasparov react to this aggression here? Well, not too many options. This square is taken, so going back to e2. And here, maybe Kramnik could consider exchanging the queens. Queen takes queen, rook takes queen, but he sees a pawn. And he plays the best move in the position, which looks very risky. He plays queen takes a2. So Kasparov sacrificed this pawn. So what is he thinking that he will get in return for this sacrificed pawn? An attack. Queen coming to h6. Now he has time for that. So the queen comes to h6. And this king, even though the position is objectively about equal, may start to feel the heat a little bit, which is also why Kramnik plays his queen back. I snagged on the pawn. Now I come back with the queen to e6 to defend my husband, the king. But this game was also about the knights, and this knight that was made room for on c2 very early in the game can now show one of the little tricks it has up its sleeve. It can go to this nicely protected square on d4, where it is attacking the queen and getting significantly closer to the black majesty. The queen slides over to b6, and Kasparov plays rook to h3. They call it the rover, the rook up and over. So the intention is very clear. The rook wants to go in here with a check here, and of course king here is not possible. That would be checkmate, so knight would have to come in between, and then that knight would be attacked. It cannot move, and it will lose the game. It will be lost, and with that the game will be lost. But in chess, as you know, your opponent gets to move every other turn, and here Kramnik has a very nice, well-timed response. He plays king coming to h8, so that this would not be as devastating. So how can Kasparov continue the attack from here? Bishop coming to g4, coordinating with the knight here on the f4 square. Rook g8, attacking this bishop and protecting these vulnerable squares. Asking the bishop, what do you want to do? What is your future? And here we see one of these beautiful Kasparov moves. So we say, you can take this, no problem. I will play knight to this square that looks like it's defended. Knight coming into e6. Looks like you could just capture that. But no, you can't capture that, because now this queen is no longer defending f6. Queen takes f6 with check, and there's a long variation, but basically white will be winning there. So the knight is not captured, and even the bishop is not captured, because with this knight here the queen can't see f6 also. So if rook takes, let me show you, queen takes here with check, and if you try to put the rook back in between, well, we are going to just capture that with checkmate here, protected by the knight. So yeah, that doesn't work. So can't capture the bishop either. But Kasparov missed a move here. The best move in the position that actually secures black a slight advantage. Slight theoretical advantage. Rook coming to g6. So not taking the knight, which looks so tempting, not taking the bishop, just attacking the queen. And now Kasparov has to retreat. Goes back to f4 with the queen to f4. And this attacks this rook here. Where does this rook want to be? Actually, this rook wants to be on e8. At least that was Kramnik's plan here? Can that maintain his advantage? Rook e8. Well, Kasparov is throwing everything now into the attack. The knight is in the attack, can maybe be captured. So maybe it should move. The queen is in the attack, the bishop is in the attack, and the rook is in the attack. This rook is not in the attack. So rather than moving this knight, he sees that queen is protecting d6 here, so rook coming to d6 is the move being played. Now, this attacks the queen, so there's really no time to take the knight. The rook here is defending f6, so the threat of queen takes f6, that has been dealt with. But rook takes queen, that's a serious threat. And where does that queen want to go? As it turns out, that queen doesn't want to go anywhere. Instead, we see the point of the rook coming to e8, a very, very nice move, saying, I will not react to your attack on the queen. I will not defend her. I will not move her. Instead, I will attack your queen with knight coming to d5. If you take my queen, I will take your queen. And there's long variation there. That is not something that Kasparov was interested in at all. So what did he play? Okay, I hope that you are ready, because this is the magic of Kasparov. So just a few moves ago, Black had a nice little advantage. But there was, of course, all this pressure going on. So there was not a lot of room to make any mistakes. Because just a tiny, tiny mistake could spell disaster. And this move, and the last couple of moves, they were tiny, tiny mistakes. And there is exactly one way now for white to push through. And the amount of calculation that Kasparov would have had to have done to play the next move is unbelievable. Unbelievable. He doesn't move the queen. He does something. I'm just going to show you. This is why we study chess. This is beautiful. He plays h5, which does attack the rook. True. But it also hangs the queen. And Kramnik takes the queen. Okay. Is Kasparov then going to recapture the queen? No, that's actually not very good. Because then rook takes bishop, and it's all falling apart for white's attack. So no, we're not just sacrificing the queen and saying we can get a rook for it. It's a clean queen sacrifice. So he does capture the rook, but what does that do? Well, that allows this queen to come in and capture this rook. So he's not really gaining a rook with this move. So what on earth is going on in this insane position? Well, Garry Kasparov is what is going on. And he plays rook takes on h7. That is check. It's very easy to respond since there is only one legal move, king coming to g8. Kasparov continues his attack with the force of a sledgehammer, plays pawn takes, pawn on f7. That is also check, and there is only one legal move here, which is king takes rook. And now we have it, the position I promised you in the beginning. Kasparov calculated an attack that led him to this position, where he has these three forces against the entirety of the entire might of the Black Army. And he said, well, I can calculate just one move further and see that this is winning for me. How? Well, it's about this pawn and the potential that we all carry inside of us. We can all be a girl boss if we are courageous and we strive towards the finish line and go for our goal. Then we can be anything that we want, and this pawn wants to capture this rook, and it wants to become a queen, the mightiest piece on the chessboard. Is the game finished now? Well, no, because truth be told, this only restores the material balance. So the game looks, to the naked eye, looks quite balanced. But it really, really isn't. White is completely winning. Let's see if we can figure out how. First of all, Kramnik says, I can take the knight. So knight takes knight. Kasparov is like, I'm down a piece again, really? Well, he could come in and capture it, but let's wait for the most opportune moment. So he plays like these sniper moves, these assassin moves. Like he's a viper, a sniper maniac at the chessboard, Kasparov was. Bishop coming to f5, check to the king. The king goes to g7. The queen now with this g6, square protected, can come to g6, and that is check. Of course, the king is not going to h8, that's checkmate in 1, so the only other legal option is coming to f8. Now we see why he didn't capture this knight right away, because he can come in from a different angle with more advantage. So he plays queen takes f6 with check. Now having the same coordinated attack on the knight, but having backed this important pawn as well. The king tries to run to safety, king to e8. But we can now play bishop takes knight. And how can the white king be defended? I was trying to understand the position, and when I was analyzing the game, preparing for this video, and the next move that Kramnik plays, I was very puzzling to me. It seemed so desperate. I was trying to figure out, why is he so desperate in this position? He's only down a pawn. Do you want to know what Stockfish says is the best move in this position? Stockfish says that the best move here is pawn to e3, because every other move hurts the position more. And here there's a little trick. Bishop check. So you have to defend the queen, but actually in this position we can now play queen takes queen, king takes queen, and pawn takes pawn. And this is simply a winning endgame for white, meaning that there is a technique that White can follow that Kasparov knows, and Kramnik knows, and Kramnik knows that Kasparov knows it. That will guarantee the win. It's a bit like for you and me, maybe if we have a queen and a king against just a king, we know that there is a way that we can win. There is a certain method that will always win. These guys have the same kind of opening, or like rather end-game knowledge. It's just way more complicated. So instead of this, we saw this very, very desperate move. Queen coming to f8. But this is actually even worse, because this loses the queen on the spot. Can you see the tactic? Can you see the tactic that made Kramnik resign the game? It's a deflection tactic, something we looked at in the other variation just before. And it has to do with winning the queen. Bishop coming to d7 check. Only one legal move. King takes bishop, queen takes queen, and now the tables have turned from when Kasparov only had a pawn, a bishop, and a knight against the army. Now he has the girl boss here. He has the queen versus only a bishop, and he even has 4 pawns versus only 3 pawns. So Kramnik resigned. This is very easily winning for somebody of his caliber, of Kasparov's caliber. And if you would like to know how this game would probably play out, if they had played it out to its logical conclusion, then I guess that the easiest way to explain how easily winning this is that Kasparov can just push this pawn all the way here and make another queen if he wants to. The king can never come in and intercept it because the queen cuts off the king, and there is no real way for this bishop to stop it. So it's, the easiest way to win this would be to pretty simply make another queen. Maybe you could sacrifice the bishop like here, and then you take the bishop. So you trade now that you have a queen and 3 pawns versus 3 pawns. You take the pawns, you make another queen. Of course, Kasparov is going to finish the game quicker than that, but if you were, or if I were in this position, then that's the easy way to do it. You don't have to think that much. There's no threats. Black has nothing to do, nothing to throw. So what a magical, magical game. This is why we love chess. Kasparov, just an absolute beast. They called him the Beast from Baku. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're like a long-term fan and you can afford it, maybe you would like to support me on patreon.com/ASMRchess to help me keep the channel going and make more and better videos. Just a little suggestion if it is within your budget. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time. I had a great time. And I hope I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.